Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Biochemistry Club. This is Ina here, and today I am going to guide you how you can write an effective research proposal. So these are some tips of scientific writing that you must be focused, keep practicing and believe in yourself, and through constant practicing, definitely you will improve yourself. So if I talk about research proposal, it is a short description of your research project, and the main information we includes in a research proposal is a research topic. We describe the justification or significance of the topic or the research we are planning to conduct. And we give a detailed description, stepwise description of the step which we will follow to perform or to complete that research project. So simply you can say that it is a small version of your detailed research project, which you are planning to complete in 1, 2, or 3 years, which really depends on whether you are writing it for the MS or PhD program. So the key components of research proposal includes title, and in my coming slides, I will definitely discuss one by one these components, that which type of information you should include in each section. So the first component is title. The second one is background, introduction, or literature review, in which we are going to describe the research gap or the purpose of our research. So the third heading is research objectives and research questions, which sometimes we can merge these 2 points, or sometimes we can simply list the research questions. Experimental design or methodology, that will be the stepwise description of your project. Then expected outcome or expected results, and then significance of the study, and the last timeline, in which you have to mention that in how much time you will complete that particular project. So it will simply show that how realistic you are. If you are writing a proposal for an MS program, so definitely your research should be completed in 1 year. And if it is a PhD research proposal, then definitely the time duration will be 3 to 4 years. And the last one is references, which must be in a particular format. So discussing the title of research proposal. Just like all scientific documents, the title of research proposal must be a clear indication of your research. For example, if you are planning to work on a particular protein, so you have to describe the name of protein and the source of protein on which you are planning to work, because there are many proteins and the many organisms, many sources from which these proteins belong. So you have to specify that this is a particular target and this is the source of that target which I am planning to consider in my research. So it should describe your study, your project in 1 or 1.5 lines, not more than that, but it must be clear and concise. It should include all the keywords or the key points which are necessary to introduce a particular project. So don't try to fit every detail of your research into your title. For example, if you are planning to work on a pathogen or a disease, so the name of pathogen or the disease can be added in title, but the other information, for example, the source from where you are collecting your sample and some other detailed information, it should not be the part of title. We can mention these informations in appropriate sections of methodology, which is the next section of the research proposal. So if you will note down the key points, that what should be included in title, what should be the part of introduction, definitely the writing of a research proposal will be much more easier task for you. Okay, the second and the main part of research project or the research proposal is introduction or the background. First point is that you have to justify the need for study in this section, that why you are planning to perform this particular research, and you have to answer the each and every question which the potential evaluator can raise. For example, why you are planning this study? Is there any previous study related to your work? Any previous work, or what is the knowledge gap? or what was the reason that you have planned these type of the questions. You have to answer these unasked questions in introduction by assuming that these questions can be raised on my research proposal. So follow a general to specific approach, which means that first of all, you have to specify the problem, and then you will move towards your particular methodology that I am proposing this solution of this particular problem. So initially, we will not introduce our methodology or our study. First, we will give general information, and then we specifically talk about our particular idea. So the approach will be from general to specific, and this is the information which will be the part of introduction, general information, previous research, knowledge gap and purpose of research, and the last one is the research significance of research. So in general information, we will introduce the particular topic we are interested in. For example, if we are planning to perform a research on a particular disease, so we will give an introduction to that disease, the organism which is responsible for that disease. Some statistics about the disease. For example, we can say that in previous years, how many people were affected by that particular disease, what was the mortality rate of that disease. And after that, we have a chance to introduce the previous researches. Here we can give an idea that we have all possible information related to our research project. We know what were the previous researches and what were the main loopholes or the knowledge gaps in that particular studies. For example, if you are writing a research proposal on a disease or on a pathogen, so definitely here you will mention that previously there were some treatments which were suggested for this particular disease, and initially these treatments were effective. For example, if the treatment is uh, antibiotics, so you can say that previously the antibiotics were effective in controlling that particular disease, but with the passage of time, some strains emerged which were antibiotic resistant, and because of this, these antibiotics remains no more effective for the treatment of this particular disease. So this is the knowledge gap, this is a loophole. This is a problem which you are planning to address. You are going to give a more effective solution rather than antibiotic resistance to combat that particular disease. So you have listed, you have reported the previous researches, you have reported the knowledge gap, and then you have mentioned the purpose of your research. And at last, you will mention in 2 to 3 lines the significance of your research, that how your research is going to fill in that knowledge gap. So this is the sequence of information which must be followed in introduction. And if I talk about the length, so if you are following the Times New Roman 12 font, 1.5 line spacing, so the maximum length of introduction should not more than 1 page. It should be between half and 1 page, not more than 1 page. So, as I have mentioned previously, that the sequence of information must be as follows. Firstly, you have to describe the research problem. You have to give the general introduction or describe the research problem by providing the general information. Second, you have to provide background information or the research projects in this area. You have to highlight research gap and explain how it can be filled. You have to introduce your research topic and explain why this research is needed to fill the research gap. Describe the significance of your work and clearly state the objectives of your study. So if you will have these points in front of you while reading a literature review, so you will be more focused. You will search for the relevant information. And by this way, writing the introduction will be more easier for you. So follow the tip, read the literature and prepare an outline before start writing this section. So once you have completed the introduction, the next section is research questions and research objectives. Sometimes we can combine these headings, and in other cases we can write research questions separately and research objectives separate. So what are the research objectives and what are the research questions? So if I particularly talk about the research objectives, these are the actionable steps which a researcher is planning to take in order to achieve the aims. Here you have to list 2 to 3 points that how you plan to achieve the aims. And the research questions, here you have to put 2 to 3 questions that you think that your study has potential to answer. For example, if you are considering a particular protein and you are going to check its pathogenic potential, whether it is involved in causing a disease or not. So you can ask a simple question that whether the protein A is involved in pathogenicity or not. So this is the question that your study will address, either yes or no. So you can simply ask 2 to 3 similar questions that you think that your study would answer in the end. The next section is experimental design or methodology, and in this section we have to mention the stepwise description that how we plan to complete our work. And for this purpose, I will highly recommend to read the similar papers. For example, if you are working on a particular protein and you plan to recombinantly express and characterize that particular protein, so you can read the papers in which some other proteins have been recombinantly expressed and purified, characterized. So you will have an outline, you will have a workflow that what are the key steps which are crucial for recombinant characterization and purification of a particular protein. So, experimental design must include the complete details of the step. Okay, the next section is significance of the study. Although we have mentioned 2 to 3 lines about the significance of study in introduction, but that was a very small description. In this section, we have to give one paragraph or 200 to 250 words, and we have to touch each and every sector which we think our study is going to impact. For example, if you are working on proposing an effective treatment for a particular disease, so definitely your study will impact the health sector, your study will impact the diagnostic sector. So this way you have to discuss each and every sector which you think your study is going to impact. Research timeline, here you have to give a time frame which you think that you needs to perform this particular research. And then references. References should be listed in proper citation style, for example, APA or MLA. And along with the list of references at the end of document, there must be in-text citations throughout the document. Okay, here I have a template research proposal which I have written for a scholarship application. And here I will show you each section of this research proposal, and you can see that how the information is listed here. So this is the title, and here you can see that how concise and clear this title is and how it is reporting my research. The title is Role of Human Enhancer of Invasion 10 Protein in Meiotic Recombination. So it is very clear from reading this title that I am interested in high 10 protein, and the purpose of my study is to check the involvement of this protein in the process of meiotic recombination. And then there is introduction or the background where I have mentioned the series of information. The first one is general information. And my first paragraph is actually covering this particular section. And here you can see that I have mentioned that the process of meiosis is responsible for bringing genetic diversity across the species. So I am giving the general information about the topic. In the second sentence or the second line, I have mentioned that the process of crossover is a very regulated process, and it is regulated by the phenomena of interference, which ensures that crossovers are not created by chance. So again, the background information about the crossovers or the process of meiosis. So this is the general information about the topic. Then I have mentioned that there are certain proteins which are responsible for making crossover. So I am making a space for my protein, which actually is a protein that is responsible for creating crossovers in genetic material or the DNA. So then I have described some information about my protein. So this is the previous information or the previous research. So I have mentioned that previously a protein has been identified in this family ZMM protein, which is actually responsible for its unique behavior in meiosis. And what does this proteins do? This protein actually mark the site where the DNA will exchange its fragments. And then I have mentioned the knowledge gap. So I have mentioned that the involvement of this protein in crossover formation is pretty well known. However, the exact mechanism of crossover formation is still unknown. Furthermore, it is also not clear that whether this protein is ubiquitin ligase or not. So, by this information, I am actually highlighting the knowledge gap that there is some sort of information which is still not available about this protein. And then I have mentioned the significance of my study, that in this study, I plan to answer these questions or I plan to fill in these knowledge gaps. So this is how I have listed the introduction of my research proposal. Okay, the next section is research questions. And here you can clearly see that I have actually transformed the aims or the purpose of my work into some questions, that why I planned this work, what I want to check through this work in the form of some questions. The next section is research objectives, and here I have again listed the aims or the objectives of my study, not in question format, but in sentence form. Then is the research methodology. Here I have mentioned the steps which I will follow to perform this particular work, including the techniques or the protocols that will be followed in each section. So after methodology, there is study significance, and at last there is research timeline and references. So thank you so much. I hope this lecture would be helpful for you. And after this, you will be able to write an effective research proposal. If you have any further questions, you can ask in comment section and I will answer your questions there. Thank you.